She stormed into my backyard like she was raiding a crime scene. Clipboard in one hand, cell phone in the other, eyes already dialed to rage. "This is an unauthorized gathering. You are in direct violation of the HOA's smoke and noise policy," she shrieked. Her voice pierced through the laughter, the smell of hickory smoke, and the music playing gently from a Bluetooth speaker tucked behind the patio furniture. Every conversation stopped. Dozens of heads turned. My brothers not by blood, but by fire paused mid-bite and mid-toast. I was standing at the grill, tongs in one hand, apron dusted in spice rub. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "Ma'am, you might want to take a breath and look again." But Karen never paused. Not even to notice the patches sewn onto the shirts. Not even to notice the framed memorial resting on the table, surrounded by American flags and a pair of folded turnout pants. She pointed again. "Gas grills within 10 feet of a residence are prohibited per Section 6B. You can't host events over 10 people without approval." That was the moment Captain Reeves stood. A man built like a fridge with a heart bigger than most homes. He stepped forward. Crisp navy blue polo marked with a silver badge that read, District 9. He cleared his throat. "Karen, is it?" She turned, already puffing herself up. "Yes, I am the acting HOA compliance officer. And you are." He didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to. "The former fire chief for this entire county. This isn't just a cookout. It's a firefighter reunion." She blinked, wavered for just a second, but her pride wouldn't let go. "That doesn't exempt anyone from the rules. The HOA governs residential gatherings." That's when Lieutenant Marsh came forward, cane in hand, his limp still fresh from the warehouse collapse that nearly took his leg last spring. He pulled out a laminated card from his back pocket and read aloud. "Under the State Residential Protection and Hero Recognition Act of 2007, any gathering of active or retired emergency service members conducted on private property for non-commercial purposes is exempt from HOA regulation." Gasps from neighbors. Karen's jaw fell. I stepped forward then, keeping my tone calm. "You handed me a violation for celebrating survival, for honoring the memory of 2 men who didn't make it out of the March 5th fire. You burst into my yard and accused us of breaking rules while standing beside an urn, a pair of boots, and 26 men who've pulled strangers from burning buildings." She stammered. I didn't know. You didn't ask." She looked around, as if realizing for the first time the people she'd barked at wore badges, soot-stained memories, and eyes that had seen things she never would. Then came the twist. My wife emerged from the house, holding a document in her hand. She's quiet, always has been, but she's a fire marshal for the neighboring district. She handed the paper to Karen. "This is a fire code exemption for firefighter memorial cookouts, signed by your own HOA president 4 years ago, after his uncle died in the line of duty. We helped him set up the first one. You attended. There are pictures." Karen scanned the paper. Her hands began to tremble. I didn't think this was that." Captain Reeves stepped beside me. "No, ma'am, you didn't think." Neighbors had begun to gather along the fence. Phones were out, cameras recording. No one shouted. No one needed to. The silence of public shame said it all. She tried to recover. "It's just a misunderstanding. I was doing my job." "Your job is to protect the community," my wife said, voice steel beneath velvet. "Not terrorize it with technicalities." Karen backed away, but then froze as my teenage son walked up and placed something in her hand. It was a charred firefighter badge mounted on a piece of wood, with the words burned in, "We remember so you can live." She didn't speak. She turned and walked away, and we lit the grill again. The smell of mesquite and grilled ribs should never be followed by a cease and desist order. Yet there I was, tongs in hand, surrounded by 20 off-duty firefighters swapping stories and slapping each other on the back. When she stormed in like she owned the oxygen we were breathing. Karen, the HOA queen, crowned not by merit, but by volume. "This is a direct violation of the Neighborhood Smoke Ordinance, Section 12C, she barked, waving a neon pink notice like it was a warrant. Gatherings of more than 10 without prior approval are strictly prohibited. Captain Mike nearly choked on his cornbread. "Is this lady serious?" he whispered. Karen stomped toward my grill, her heels crunching the gravel with fury. Her eyes locked onto the brisket like it personally offended her. "Extinguish that at once or I will contact the fire department," she threatened. I wiped my hands on my apron, which ironically read Grill Sergeant, and calmly replied, "You might want to look around, Karen. The fire department's already here." That's when she noticed the patches, the station numbers, the framed photo of our fallen brother, Eric, propped up next to the flagpole. Her face twisted, but she didn't back down. "You didn't file a noise permit. You're in violation. I have every right to shut this down." I felt my blood rise, not because of her words, but because of the way she looked at Eric's photo like it was clutter. This wasn't just a barbecue. It was our annual reunion, our way of honoring those we lost and celebrating the ones still standing. We'd pulled friends from burning buildings, revived neighbors with CPR, and run into chaos while others ran out. But none of that mattered to Karen. Not if it meant someone used her community space without kissing her ring. Before I could respond, someone else stepped in. Retired Chief Daniels, 68 years old, bad knee, silver badge still gleaming on his chest. He walked right up to her and said, "Ma'am, I helped write this neighborhood's safety plan after September 11th. I lived here before you did. That house you keep filing permits from, it used to be mine. You don't have the authority to stop this." Karen's jaw dropped. "I was elected by majority." Daniels didn't flinch. "You were unopposed. That's not a mandate. That's apathy. And now it ends." Karen sputtered, turning red as the grill flames. But before she could bark back, 2 uniformed officers arrived, invited guests. Old friends of mine from Station 46. One of them, Lieutenant Reyes, stepped forward. "We got a call about unauthorized flames," he said, raising an eyebrow. Karen perked up, pointing dramatically at the smoker. "Finally, someone taking this seriously. Shut it down." Reyes pulled out a clipboard. "Actually, Karen, I brought the burn permit myself. Signed by the city. Issued 2 weeks ago. For a memorial event. At this exact address." Her mouth fell open. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. Karen tried pivoting. "Well then, the HOA reserves the right to fine the homeowner for noise, parking overflow, and unregistered gatherings." That's when Jenna arrived. You remember Jen Amy Neese, civil rights attorney, HOA law specialist, clipboard in one hand, sunglasses in the other. She walked up to Karen, cool as lake water, and said, "Actually, per the bylaws amended in 2018, Article 5, Section G, neighborhood gatherings related to public service recognition are exempt from registration and noise restriction for up to 48 hours. Karen stammered. "That amendment was never approved." Jenna handed her a folder. "It was approved. Voted in 27-3. You were at the spa in Sedona that week, remember? Your signature's right here." You could hear the chimes across the street ringing in the silence that followed. The board members who'd been sitting silent this whole time, they stood, one by one. And for the first time since Karen had taken over the HOA through manipulation and intimidation, they spoke up. "Enough," said Mr. Taylor, who'd lived on the block since the 70s. "We never voted for this harassment. We let it go on too long." Then Mrs. Medina, who once got a citation for hanging her grandkids' art on her fence. "I want a motion to remove Karen DuBois as acting president effective immediately." Karen screeched. "You can't. I'm still in charge. This isn't a real meeting." But the community had gathered, and this was as real as it got. That vote? Unanimous. She was done. Karen tried one last thing called the Regional HOA Council. Claimed discrimination. Claimed bias. Claimed we forged documents. But by then, the story had gone public. A local reporter had stopped by for ribs. He left with a headline, "HOA President Tries to Shut Down Barbecue Honoring Fallen Firefighter." It went viral overnight. News vans. Hashtags. Even a city councilman came by the next day with a medal for Eric's family and a promise to investigate HOA abuse in the county. Karen resigned officially the following week. But not before the city slapped her with fines for false emergency reports, harassment, and misuse of authority. Turns out she'd been pocketing funds from HOA dues for years, landscaping contracts issued to a business her cousin ran out of a storage unit. We held another barbecue a month later. This one was bigger, louder, with music, dancing, and a 21-burger salute. And in the center of the yard, surrounded by folding chairs and kids with ketchup-streaked faces, we unveiled a new plaque for Eric and every brave soul who runs toward the fire. So what do you think? Was Karen just doing her job? Or did she try to silence something that never belonged to her?